Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Om Vishnu Bhad Bhanamahansa Prabhujakacharya Asatosara Shishimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Gaura Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hardships Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan ki jai, Shri Maya Panavidam ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samveda Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, the history of the life of Jamil, text number 15. And this is a very famous verse. The previous one also is very famous. Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dunvanti Kartsneya Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha. Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha. Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha. Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha. Mataji. Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Agham Dudvanti Karsnena Niharam Iva Bhaskaraha. Kechit, some people. Kevalaya Bhaktya, by executing unalloyed devotional service. Vasudeva, to Lord Krishna, the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parayanaha, completely attached. only to such service, without dependence on austerity, penance, cultivation of knowledge, or pious activities, agham, all kinds of sinful reactions, dunvanti, destroys, kartnyena, completely, with no possibility that sinful desires will revive. Niharam, fog. Iva, like. Bhaskaraha, the sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki. Only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. Purport. In the previous verse, Sukadeva Goswami gave the example that the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree may be completely burnt to ashes by a fire, although the creepers may sprout again because the root is still in the ground. Similarly, because the root of sinful desire is not destroyed in the heart of a person who is cultivating knowledge but who has no taste for devotional service, there is a possibility that his sinful desires will reappear. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shreya Shrin Sitim Bhaktim Udasya Te Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevadabodha Labhaye. Speculators who undergo a great labor to gain a meticulous understanding of the material world by distinguishing between sinful and pious activities, but who are not situated in devotional service, are prone to material activities. They may fall down and become implicated in fruitive activities. If one becomes attached to devotional service, however, his desires for material enjoyment are automatically vanquished without separate endeavor. Bhakti pareśānubhavo viraktir anyatra chaisa tuk ekakala. If one is advanced in Krishna consciousness by material activities, if one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, material activities, both sinful and pious, automatically become distasteful to him. That is the test of Krishna consciousness. Both pious and impious activities are actually due to ignorance, because a living entity, as an eternal servant of Krishna, has no need to act for his personal sense gratification. Therefore, as soon as one is reclaimed to the platform of devotional service, he relinquishes his attachment for pious and impious activities and is interested only in what will satisfy Krishna. This process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, Vasudeva Parayana, relieves one from the reactions of all activities. Since Maharaj Pariksit was a great devotee, the answers of his guru, Sukadeva Goswami, concerning karma kanda and jnana kanda could not satisfy him. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami, knowing very well the heart of his disciple, explained the transcendental bliss of devotional service. The word kechit, which is used in this verse, means a few people, but not all. Not everyone can become Krishna conscious, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. Manushyanam sahasresu kasya jadisere yadatam abhisadhanam kasyam mam veti tatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, many times Prabhupada would speak on this verse, and he would, quite often he would say, out of many millions. Actually, I think it's even in the Sanskrit, it's millions. It's not thousands. Yeah. So many times he would say, out of many millions. Yeah, it's so rare for someone to take up Krishna consciousness. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Practically no one understands Krishna as he is. For Krishna cannot be understood through pious activities or attainment of the most elevated speculative knowledge. Actually, the highest knowledge consists of understanding Krishna. Unintelligent men who do not understand Krishna are grossly puffed up, thinking that they are liberated or have themselves become Krishna or Narayan. This is ignorance. To indicate the purity of bhakti, devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilasita sunyam, ghanakarmadyanavatam, anukulyena krishnanam, silanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably, and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activity or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami further explains that bhakti is kles agni or shubhadha, which means if one takes to devotional service, all kinds of unnecessary labor and material distress ceases entirely, and one achieves all good fortune. Bhakti is so powerful that it is also said to be moksha laghu takrit. In other words, it minimizes the importance of liberation. Non-devotees must undergo material hardship because they are prone to commit sinful activities, sinful fruitive activities. The desire to commit sinful actions continues in their hearts due to ignorance. These sinful actions are divided into three categories: patika, mahapatika, and atipatika. And also into two divisions: prarabdha and aprarabdha. Prarabdha refers to sinful reactions from which one is suffering at the present, and aprarabdha refers to sources of potential suffering when the seeds, bij, of sinful reactions have not yet fructified. The reactions are called aprarabdha. These seeds of sinful actions are unseen, but they are unlimited. And no one can trace when they were first planted. Because of prarabdha, sinful reactions that have already fructified, one is seen to have taken birth in a low family or to be suffering from other miseries. When one takes to devotional service, however, all phases of sinful life, including prarabdha, aprarabdha, and bid, are vanquished. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, Yathagni shusham mritarji karot yedhamasi basmasat tatha mad visaya bhaktir Uddhav Hainamsi Kritsnasaha. My dear Uddhava, this is the continuation of the Bhagavad Gita, the Uddhava Gita. It's amazing. My dear Uddhava, devotional service in relation with me is like a blazing fire that can burn to ashes all the fuel of sinful activities supplied to it. How devotional service vanquishes the reactions of sinful life is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-6, in a verse spoken during Lord Kapila's instructions to his mother Devahuti. Devahuti said, Yanama Hedya Shavanan Kirtanad Yat Pravanad Yat Smaranad Apikuchit Svadhopi Sadja Savanaya Kalpate Kuttapunaste Bhagavan Nudarshanat. My dear Lord, if even a person born in a family of dog-eaters hears and repeats the chanting of your glories, offers respects to you and remembers you, he is immediately greater than a Brahmana and is therefore eligible to perform sacrifices. Therefore, what is to be said of one who has seen you directly? In the Padma Purana, there is a statement that persons whose hearts are always attached to the devotional service of Lord Krishna are immediately released from all the reactions of sinful life. These reactions generally exist in 4 phases. Some of them are ready to produce results immediately. Some are in the form of seeds, some are unmanifested, and some are current. All such reactions are immediately nullified by devotional service. When devotional service is present in one's heart, desires to perform sinful activities have no place there. Sinful life is due to ignorance, which means forgetfulness of one's constitutional position as an eternal servant of God. But when one is fully Krishna conscious, he realizes that he is God's eternal servant. In this regard, Srila Jiva Goswami comments that Bhakti may be divided into 2 divisions: Shantata, devotional service that continues incessantly with faith and love, and 2, Kadachitiki, devotional service that does not continue incessantly but is sometimes awakened. Incessantly flowing devotional service, Santata, may also be divided into 2 categories. 1. Service performed with slight attachment, and 2. Spontaneous devotional service, and 2 is spontaneous devotional service. Intermittent devotional service, Kadachitiki, may be divided into 3 categories. 1. Raga Basa Mayi, devotional service in which one is almost attached. 2. Raga Basa Sunya Sarupa Bhuta, devotional service in which there is no spontaneous love, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. And 3. Abhasa Rupa, a slight glimpse of devotional service. Now Raj is going to repeat all that. As for atonement, if one has caught even a slight glimpse of devotional service, all needs to undergo pareśānubhavo, atonement, are superseded. Therefore, atonement is certainly unnecessary when one has achieved spontaneous love and, above that, attachment with love, which are signs of increasing advancement in Kadachitki. Even in the stage of Abhasa, Rupa Bhakti, all the reactions of sinful life are uprooted and vanquished. Srila Jiva Goswami expresses the opinion that the word kartsnyenya means that even if one has a desire to commit sinful actions, the roots of that desire are vanquished merely by Abhasa Rupa Bhakti. The example of Bhaskara, the sun, is most appropriate. The Abhasa feature of Bhakti is compared to twilight, and the accumulation of one's sinful activities are compared to fog. Since fog does not spread throughout the sky, the sun need do no more than merely manifest its first rays, and the fog immediately disappears. Similarly, if one has even a slight relationship with devotional service, all the fog of his sinful life is immediately vanquished. Quite a purport there. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukham Kotuvachalang Pangunang Hayate Gurim Yat Kripataraham Bande Shigarum Dinatarana Vanchakapatribhyascha Kripasindu Bhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Here in the purport, Prabhupada mentions this another famous verse, Bhakti pareśānubhavo viraktir. By rendering devotional service to Krishna, three things simultaneously occur. One is one attains love for Krishna by devotional service. Pure devotional service. And then now we're all engaged in some devotional service. It may not be pure devotional service, but it's devotional service. It's like there's different types of service. There's service in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance even. But it's still devotional service. Just like you might have a mango, an unripe mango. And then the next one, there's a ripe mango. Now they're both mangoes. This one is ripe and one isn't. So one may not be engaged in pure devotional service, but still it's devotional service. And if you let that unripe mango sit for a while, it's going to become a ripe mango. So similarly, if we continue on in devotional service, eventually that unripe devotional service will become ripe devotional service, pure devotional service. So that's the goal. That's the goal of life. Mark Twain once said that the two most important days of your life is when you're born and when you find out why you were born. I don't know if he found out why he was born or not. So why are we born? We're born to wake up. To wake up and again engage in devotional service. This is the goal of the human form of life. Not an easy achievement, but things that are very valuable take time. It's like there's so many, the most valuable nuts, they take time for the bushes to grow and to bring the nuts, such as, what do they call those? Yeah, and also the round ones, what are those? Macadamia nuts, yeah. Long time. Good nuts. So things that are very valuable takes time. So we have to be patient. Patience is a very important aspect of devotional service. Utsaha nischaya dharya. To be very enthusiastic. Whatever we're doing, we should be enthusiastic. Like Prabhupada said, he said, even if you're not enthusiastic, just act enthusiastic. And you'll become enthusiastic. And he actually gave the example of a car that's not, you gotta. He's given an example of when you used to start it. You don't have that anymore, I don't think, right? So if a car stops, you give it a push start and then you pop the clutch, and then gradually it gets going. You got to give it a push start. So sometimes we don't feel very enthusiastic, but in the association of devotees, we become enthusiastic. Just like this morning, I wasn't dancing, but I saw Dimitri, our Bhakti Dimitri, enthusiastic dancing, so I started dancing too. I got inspired. And Prabhupada, he had such an intense desire to serve Krishna. He was so pure. He had such an intense desire to serve Krishna that it caught on to other people. Yeah. And it's interesting, this whole pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. In one of the purports there, Prabhupada explains how his austerity was so intense that the whole universe was affected by it. Yeah, he couldn't breathe. So Prabhupada said, similarly, a devotee, a sincere devotee's desire to serve Krishna can affect the universe. And Prabhupada, by his purity, so many people were coming to Krishna, giving their lives to Krishna because of his intense desire, that pure desire, the whole atmosphere where he would go would be affected, and people would be touched, and they would give their life. Prabhupada affected them. So many Bhagavad Gitas came before Prabhupada, and so many gurus came before Prabhupada. But no one became a devotee of Krishna. No one surrendered their life. And Prabhupada comes, and even atheists surrendering their lives because of the purity. Purity is the force. So utsaha nischaya dharya, confidence. We have to be confident. And how does that confidence come? From hearing, from association. Prabhupada is so confident that this is the absolute truth. And therefore he taught it boldly everywhere he went. Very confident. This is the truth. And patience. We have to be patient. We're trying to achieve something which is very difficult to achieve. But it's possible. It's not impossible. Actually, that's that word. This word impossible. I'm possible. I'm possible by the mercy of Krishna. I'm possible to achieve this by the mercy of Krishna. Only by the mercy of Krishna. On our own, we can't do it. We have to get the mercy of Krishna. And Krishna, he wants to give this mercy. He wants us back home. So we just have to be determined, patient, confident. Utsaha, nischaya daya, tat karma. Engage in activities favorable for devotional service. And everything that we're doing is very favorable. The morning program, we're all doing service. This is very favorable. And when we're doing whatever we're doing, we should be thinking, this is for the pleasure of Krishna. This is for the pleasure of Krishna. We're trying to please Krishna. Generally, people are trying to please themselves. Atmendra priti vanchitali balikam, Krishnendra priti ichadari premanam. That lust means the desire to satisfy our own senses. That's the meaning of lust. And this world is made up of a lot of lusty people. Right? Because they're trying to satisfy their own senses, their own mind, their own senses. But love means to satisfy Krishnendra priti ichadari premanam, to satisfy the desires of Krishna. Yesterday I was driving to my Sankirtan spot, and I saw one license plate. I want. That was it. People want so many things, except for one thing, to serve Krishna. Material world, people have so many material desires. But they get what they want, and still they're not satisfied. Still they're not satisfied. That's the nature of this world. But if one serves Krishna, then one becomes very satisfied. Trying to satisfy these lusty desires, they don't satisfy the soul. It's like I was just reading, before Prabhupada came here, he was he was doing a lot of writing, also with BTG, and he would write on present topics, like in the Indian Times. There was an article. Is truth beauty? Is truth beautiful? And the person who wrote it, no. Sometimes truth isn't beautiful. And Prabhupada disagreed. In his BTG article, I disagree. Truth is always beautiful. The absolute truth is always beautiful. Relative truth, that's another thing. That's not always beautiful. Yeah. But absolute truth is always beautiful. And he gave the example of a prince, a lusty prince, who saw a beautiful woman, and he desired her, and he approached her to have her hand in marriage, and she wasn't interested. She's a devotee. She wasn't. Just wanted to serve Krishna, but he was adamant. He really wanted to have her hand in marriage. She's a beautiful lady. But he kept on trying, and she said, all right, I'll accept you as my head. Just come back. 7 days, yeah, come back in a week. And she was taking these purgatives, a lot of purgatives. And she was passing, there was vomit and stool, and just. So after a week he came back, and he's so joyful. Oh, I'm gonna have this beautiful lady. She's gonna be my wife. So he knocks on the door, and she opens the door, and she's completely emaciated. Prabhupada says her eyeballs had gone into the sockets. Just like, she was just completely, just skinny, and you could see the bones. Just like. So he said, "Oh, hello! I'm here to see the lady of the house. Can I see the lady of the house? We're going to get married." And she said, "That's me." No. You don't understand. She's beautiful. No, but you don't understand. That's me. That's me. What do you mean that's you? Yeah. Let me show you what has separated me from my beauty. The source of my beauty. They pulled her in there and just saw the buckets of stool and vomit. So this is the source of my beauty. See, he was just a lusty animal trying to enjoy, but she was a devotee. She was more intelligent. So this is what you're attracted to. Yeah. So he said, "Oh my God, all right. Good lesson there. Thank you." And then he rode up. And so then Prabhupada goes on to say that literature which does not give glorification of Krishna is like vomit and stool. And there's so much literature out there that's just nonsense, just wasting people's time and life. So much garbage. That literature which does not give description of the glories of the Lord are said by sages to be placed in pilgrimage for crows. On the other hand, that literature which does give descriptions of the glories of the Lord are of another creation directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misled civilization. So this is what Prabhupada's, these are jewels, Prabhupada's books. They create a revolution in the hearts of people, just like us. When I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, wow, that was a completely total revolution. You're just like, whoa, this is, and so many devotees. And by reading these books, they become enlightened. So Bhakti, pareśānubhavo, viraktir, that by rendering devotional service we attain love for Krishna, we become detached from material life. So by hearing about Krishna, by hearing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, eventually we become detached. Shruti, Pratyaksam, Aitiyam, Anumanam, Chatustayam. There's 4 evidences by which one can understand the temporary illusory nature of this world. Shruti, the best one is Shruti, the Vedic literatures. We get direction on how to go to Krishna and detachment. We become detached from this material simply by hearing the words of Krishna. Read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We become detached by hearing. Hearing is so important. Hearing is so important. It's like when we're sleeping. There's only one sense that's still working when we sleep. Of course, there's some people that are really deep sleepers, and that sense also isn't working. But in general, just like that amazing story, somebody may not have heard this. There was a person here in San Diego. He's a wealthy man. He was in his house sleeping, and he heard an alarm go off, but he had not set the alarm. And the alarm was Prabhupada singing. Sometimes people have alarms, yeah. Huh? Yeah. So he was sleeping, and he heard the alarm go off, and he's like, why did the alarm go off? So he gets up to turn it off, and there's a fire in the house. And it's not a small fire, it's a good sized fire. So he grabs his absolute essential stuff, just little a few little things, runs out, house burned down. So how was he saved? He had that one sense that was still working. Yeah, that's very mysterious. Krishna saved him, right? Krishna saved him. If that alarm had not gone off, he would have been part of that house that went down. So, oh, it was a forest fire. Oh, many houses went down. Oh, I see. Wow. I'm surprised it wasn't forewarned, because usually when there's a forest fire, it's there, and there. Somehow he didn't hear about the forewarning. Oh, I see. He didn't think the wind would bring it that way. You gotta look out for that wind. So yeah, hearing. From hearing comes understanding. And what we want to understand the most is Krishna. So we have all these wonderful literatures that will help us understand Krishna. I'll give you another example about hearing. Imagine there's a king that's getting ready to have a nice meal, feast. Looks good. Now, back in the 1500s and earlier, sometimes kings would be poisoned. So they would have someone to check, see if it's poison. Believe it or not, it's amazing. I don't know how they would check. I mean, if they taste it, they would eat it, and if they die, king, don't eat it. What a service. Huh? High-paying job. I mean, that means some of them would die. Well, don't eat that. Servant died. Amazing. Huh? So, imagine this person's getting ready to eat a big meal, and he's just getting ready to dig in, and the secretary comes and says, "Excuse me, Your Majesty, we've just found out there's poison in the food." So simply by hearing that, what's the reaction? No thanks. He became detached. Immediately, as soon as he heard that, he became detached. So similarly, by reading Prabhupada's books attentively, we become detached from material life. Very powerful. The Prabhupada's books are very powerful. And therefore, people became detached. Us youth, I mean, in America, this is, sense gratification. It's this is what everybody's interested in. But upon reading Prabhupada's books, we find out, oh, this is not where real happiness is. There's one devotee that heard Prabhupada say that there is no happiness in this material world. And this devotee thought, wow, that's a relief. I don't have to keep trying more and more to try to enjoy this world. There's no happiness here. Why waste your time trying to find happiness? And where it's, as Prabhupada says, it's a myth. And then he says, an intelligent person should not try to find happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. It's mythology. It's not true. You won't find the happiness that we're looking for. There's some little flickering happiness, comes and goes. But the real happiness we're all looking for is in Krishna, in service to Krishna. Bhakti, pareśānubhavo, viraktir, anyatra chaisa tukekela. That so you get bhakti, you get love for Krishna, you get detachment, and you get direct experience of Krishna. You get experience of Krishna. This is what's so nice about book distribution. Yeah, I think all of us have tried some. Well, maybe almost all of us. But you experience the presence of Krishna. Having a bit of a difficult time, and you call out to Krishna, and then Krishna starts sending people. So many nice people come and take books. So you get this direct experience of Krishna by not only book distribution, so just like our head pujari, Dayanidhi. He was given this class on that big night, I think. What was it? And he was saying how it's a new experience every time he does artik. It's not. It doesn't get old. I mean, he's been doing artiks for how many years now? 30 years or something. And it just doesn't get old. It's ever fresh. And this is the nature of devotional service. It doesn't get old. It's ever fresh. So we're on the right path. Just have to continue on with determination and patience. And on that note, maybe we'll ask if there's any questions or comments or reflections. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have some in-house questions. We'll be with you shortly, Vijay Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. We can wait.
You're very patient.
Hey there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a clarification/reflection. Detachment is a very key aspect of seeing things clearly because you take away the filter. But when you mentioned we find detachment by reading Prabhupada's books, is that a form of attachment that we're attaching Prabhupada to the book rather than receiving the wisdom itself, which will then allow us to go to detachment? It's like we're starting off on a crutch rather than starting off in a fresh aspect. Is there any clarification on that?
Well, yeah, by reading Prabhupada's books, we also become attached. So we become detached from material life, we become attached to Krishna. So you can't give up, you can't become completely detached. There's people that are like that, trying to just detach from everything. But you can't. You got to be attached to something. Right? So by reading Prabhupada's books, we become very attached also, but to Krishna. That's the goal. You got to be attached to something. But in order to get that attachment to Krishna, first there has to be some detachment from the material world. It's like, what is it said, that if you want to learn the truth, first you have to accept that you don't know anything. What do we know? We don't know much. So there has to be that humility, that detachment, then we can become attached to Krishna.
Makes sense. Just a clarification or clear up. When I meant Prabhupada's books, the books itself has the wisdom which allows us to become detached because it's Krishna's words and knowledge. But when you say Prabhupada's books, aren't we already starting off by adding an attachment to the wisdom rather than the wisdom itself? It's true that it's written down, someone wrote it down.
But attachment to the wisdom, that's good.
Yes, it is. But if we say Prabhupada's books, isn't it a way of adding a filter rather than, hey, here's the wisdom, read the wisdom and see if it helps you out, rather than saying this is someone's book, this someone is who you have to read in order to get it?
Well,
You know what I mean?
we're on the in-house here, so we're all followers of Prabhupada. So,
No, I understand that, but it's just the way that we receive it, like to a random person that's listening or hearing it.
Yeah.
If they say, hey, go down and read this book,
Yeah.
it has wisdom that'll
in
help
that
you detach.
circumstance, we may speak in that way.
Okay.
But we're in-house here with all
Yeah,
followers of Prabhupada. So,
I get it.
okay.
If I can just make one comment on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Prabhupada will often use this phrase, transparent via media, which really means transparent by medium. So Prabhupada is the medium through which the knowledge is coming. He would have his, that's why he's always quoting, and whatever he speaks is backed up by Shastra. And ultimately he goes back to Krishna. So the knowledge itself is attractive and potent because it's Krishna's pure words coming through us in a way we can understand. First of all, the language. That was the great thing. English. Otherwise, what could we... But also just the personality he was giving it. Because of the purity of the person, he's not adulterating it, he's not like that. And that's why it's so potent. He would, right at the beginning of the Gita, you read the preface, there's all these Gitas that existed, but they're not, given by pure devotees, and therefore they don't have the potency to give you a detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. They go together.
Mm.
So the person is essential.
Yeah, he gives the example that if someone's ill, he gets some medicine, but you have to follow the direction on the bottle. You can't just speculate, well, maybe I'll take 10 or maybe I'll take 1. You can't speculate. So Prabhupada's giving us the knowledge very clearly. There's no speculation, everything is very clear. So therefore, the result was there, that people would come and they would become healthy. And that's the way to see if a process is actually bona fide. Just like imagine there's 2 doctor's offices, and from one doctor's office, the patients are coming out, they're healthy, and the other, they're not coming out so healthy. So where are you going to go? So people that are reading Prabhupada's books and following this process, they're not doing any of these sinful activities, and they're coming out healthy. So that's a good sign that it's a bona fide process. So Prabhupada's given us this bona fide process because of his purity. Anything else? Anything in-house? Yes. Dimitri Prabhu. Bhakta Dimitri Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I like this example of hearing when you go on outside on the street. If it's cold outside, you can come back inside to people who didn't go out yet. You can tell them, "Oh my God, it's so freezing outside," and by hearing they could understand that it's really cold. You shouldn't go, And I have a question.
Or wear a good coat.
Yeah, if you have to. I was thinking about this question, how we listen to a class in the temple room, we sit down and listen to a speaker. But what if we want to listen to a lecture that has, just Prabhupada class, for instance, in your headphones? Maybe you can speak about what's the best way to attentively listen to a class like this. Is that because we're always moving, we always sometimes tend to listen to classes on the go and things like that. So maybe you can tell what's the best way is to sit down and focus and.
Oh, if you're listening to a lecture of Prabhupada,
yeah, for instance,
what's the best way to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we're listening, but we're also doing so many things, so it's kind of hard to be attentive. So the best way is just like here, we're sitting down, we're focusing on listening to the speaker. So to hear Prabhupada also just, to be in a situation where you can focus. There's no distraction. For instance, in your room, you're sitting, you're just hearing, you're not doing anything else. As soon as you start doing other things, then you can't be attentive. Even though you're listening, I also have that experience here. You're hearing, but you're not hearing. So yeah, attentiveness is so important. To just to sit down and just focus on the hearing.
Yeah, it could also be the same with chanting too. You can just on an automatic kind of chant, but not hear.
Yeah.
And what would be some of the ways to improve hearing? Like I've heard an example of when you have a digestive problem, you should swallow ghee, and so it's at least a little bit can stay in your stomach, and that way it can help you get some nourishment. Is that the same with hearing? You should just increase the quantity. And how maybe chanting relates to hearing too? How can chanting also help us develop remembrance of what we hear?
Well, that was a pretty loaded question there. Well, actually, it was kind of like more than one. There was like 3 questions there. So just one. Give me one.
Yeah, how can we improve hearing?
How can we improve hearing? Well, we have to want to hear. If we don't want to hear, I mean, I remember I was in Europe in this book distributor, and he said, "Well, how can I improve in my book distribution?" And I said, "Well, what inspires me a lot is reading Bhagavad Gita." And he said, I don't like the Bhagavad Gita. So then well, Bhagavad Gita is like our Bible, So that might be a problem. So, yeah, we have to want to hear. And if we have to make time. If we there's time management. Even Vaisheshika Prabhu, he had someone who was managing his life. He was a time manager. We have to manage our time in such a way that we have time to read Prabhupada's books. I mean, I've seen it again and again. People that don't read Prabhupada's books, they eventually become weak. And the example is given there in the Krishna book, where 2 villages. There's family members in each village, and they would regularly use the path, and therefore it becomes a beaten path. But eventually, all the people move to one village, and then the beaten path is not beaten anymore. It becomes covered by grass. Eventually, there's no path. So, if we're regularly hearing about Krishna, then that path is there to Krishna. It's a beaten path. As long as we keep on hearing attentively, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting attentively, that's a beaten path back to Krishna. But when we stop hearing regularly, then it gets covered over by so many different types of grass. So many varieties of grass will cover up that path. And eventually, no path. And he goes off again into material life. So we have to keep that path, clear, nice clear path. And that way we could go back to Krishna. Okay? Okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, you're on.
Yes, Vijay Prabhu, we have a comment and a question. The comment goes first. Please, Maitreya Das Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So many wonderful points in this morning's class. Thank you very much, Vijay Prabhu. First of all, please don't put that microphone directly on the floor. Please just put it on your lap or put it on top of something else. It's a transcendental object being used in Krishna service. It should never just be left on the floor. Thank you. With regard to becoming attached to Prabhupada, when we say Prabhupada's books, so one point has to be made. Srila Prabhupada is in a unique category. Shakshad Harit Vena Samashta Shastra. Becoming attached to Srila Prabhupada is non-different than becoming attached to Krishna. And we can't say that about anyone else. You quoted nicely from the Sri Upadeshamrita, which is a wonderful book that we have so little time to study all of Prabhupada's books, but that's one that's very, very important for devotees to read constantly to each other, read the verses and the purports. In one purport in that book, Prabhupada says one should be very careful to accept an uttama adhikari as spiritual master. One may, those on a lower level may accept disciples, but those disciples should know that they will not be able to advance very well under his insufficient guidance. So it's not that therefore no one else can accept disciples, but the disciples have to know that their real shelter is the books of Srila Prabhupada that we're all reading. And that other gurus can perform the service, but there will be some problems, and we just have to be, it's part and parcel of being patient in devotional service. Our association is meant to be nourishing, and we encourage each other constantly. But there's one Sakshat Haridvena Samasta Shastra, that's Srila Prabhupada, and his books are okay to glorify as Prabhupada's books. We should feel no compunction or shyness about that whatsoever. So that's my comment. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of the society, and he will be the founder Acharya for the next, I don't know, 9,500 years, 10,000 year period. So he's special. Therefore, in Mangalarti, we all chant Jai Prabhupada, because Prabhupada he's everyone's guru. There's Param Guru, and then there's the direct guru. Yeah, Javira Prabhu.
Yeah, just 5 seconds.
Yeah.
The word achar often means just behavior. It could be durachar, like that, which is bad behavior. But achari...
Sadachar means pure activities.
Yes, sadachar, pure activities.
Yeah.
But the word achar itself can also mean proper behavior. So the word acharya means someone who is an exemplar.
Yeah.
So that's important, that the word acharya can also mean that. And we just discovered that. I discovered that yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So that's...
Prabhupada
said it.
Prabhupada has always given us the perfect example. And now, Vijaya Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Vijay Prabhu, you're very kind. Thank you very much. Dandavat Pranams. Prabhu, the quote from the translation to the shloka you chose for today goes as follows. Quote, only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. End quote. So based on this quote, I need to say the following in order to present my question. You know better than me that there are people who do not want to offer devotional service to Krishna because Krishna is famous for, in the middle of the night, attracting with the sound of his flute the married women in order to enjoy with them the love dance, the rasa dance. And these people find this behavior as no better than the pinnacle of immorality and sinful life. And that is the reason why they do not want to surrender to Krishna and offer service to Krishna in order to uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility for that they will revive. So based on this, my exact question is, how will you make them understand that the rasa dance is not the pinnacle of immorality and sinful life?
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome.
Interesting question. Well, Krishna, he's God. He's the cause of all causes. And everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. So when Krishna played the flute and attracted the gopis, he was attracting them because they're great devotees of Krishna, and he didn't engage in any immoral activities. They danced. And they're his parts and parcels. Actually, all women are part of Krishna. So even if you were to attract all the women in all the creation, he wouldn't be immoral because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. And everyone is meant to serve Krishna and be enjoyed by Krishna. So it's not immoral at all. If one understands that Krishna, if one doesn't understand that Krishna is God, then they won't understand this example. But Krishna is God, and everyone is part of him, and everyone is meant to be enjoyed by him. So it's not immoral. It's completely immoral. And therefore, the gopis, who are the most moral, they happily went to be with Krishna. The most moral. Krishna is the most moral. The most moral person.
A microphone, please.
Earlier in the class, Vijay Prabhu quoted this verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishna's coverage is given the definition of kama and the definition of prema. So we could say that those who are involved in simply satisfying their own desires, and at any rate, there's immoral in the service of kama. That's why you become immoral, because it breaks down any hesitancy you may have in morality. So the desire to satisfy Atmandriya Priti Vancha is called Kam. Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dare Prem Nam. This is the verse. I forgot one part of it. So this is important for you answering your question, because the desire to please Krishna's senses is called prema. And prema is the most moral thing, because it means your entire desire is for pleasing Krishna. It's not a personal thing, and that's the most virtuous thing they can be. So the gopis are pinnacles of that. They left all, their good name they left behind. They weren't concerned about that, and they went out to the forest, and Krishna tested them. He said, "Oh, these adulterous affairs are not good. You cannot go to heaven. So we should go back home." And they refused. He was testing to see if they were going to do mundane morality. And they became the most exalted, and they're the pinnacle of devotional service, according to Lord Chaitanya, who's the most strict, who wouldn't even let a woman come near. You'd have to bow down from 20 feet away. So he's the pinnacle of ethics and morality. And he said that these gopis are the pinnacle of pure devotion and purity and morality, because they're serving Krishna. As you explained, there is energies. It's like someone playing in the mirror, with the mirror is his own figures.
Yeah. Also, in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that, or no, actually it was Sanjay. He says that Krishna, wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, there's victory. There's morality,
extraordinary power, and morality.
Yeah, extraordinary power, morality. So yeah, Krishna is the most moral. Some people can't understand. Well, that's unfortunate for them. Okay?
Oh, Prabhu, as to be expected, better than okay. Breathtaking answer to my question. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. And thank you, Dravida Prabhu, again. You're amazing.